out by 21. We've got 5 minutes to go in the match, and the Wildcats are shot birds. James Crawford caught for a travel. James can't believe it. The Alabama Slammer rolls it back to referee Ray Hunt, and the Newcastle Falcons looking to get a quick break, but Bruton and Watterson trying to keep them out. There you go. Cal Bruton maybe should have been doing that a little bit earlier. He got hold of that ball when Dennis was trying to dribble it away, and it was an easy 2 points in the end.
Well, with only 4 minutes and a little bit left on the clock, finally Perth have played the game they should have been playing probably since the outset.
I would have think as soon as they were incapable of establishing their inside game that they needed to go to get more from their offense, because their inside game has been so important to their offensive effort. If you can't get it that way, you got to crank up your defense.
Outside shot. Cross slammer again.
Hey, win, lose, or draw, Crawford always looks good.
Power slam tap in, you'll call that one. Let's look at it again. The shot from Alan Black wide, and Crawford says that's mine, and he eats it up. 29
points for the game for James Crawford. Has been quiet at times, but once he's in his stride, one of the most spectacular players in the NBL. Everett moves the ball up to the offensive end of the court. Dennis a handoff to Johnson, back around to Dennis, inside to Derek Polk, beautifully executed by the Newcastle Falcons, 105 to 86. 4 minutes remaining in the game. Torrens, Watkinson. That's a nice outside shot from Crawford, but that was the replay of the shot before, and of course the Falcons are just going over the top at the moment, 105 to 88. Everett moves the ball up. No problem there.
Well, he's only got one man guarding him, Mark. I mean, you got to put a couple guys on the ball, make him give it up or lose it.
That's right. It's a losing proposition for Watterson at the moment. Bruton gets around Dennis. Dennis seemed to let him do that. And Ken Cole calls a timeout. Bruton, 13 points for the game. Hasn't spent a lot of time on the court. 105 to 90. It's just 15 points in it at the moment. Let's have a listen to what Cal Bruton's got to say to his players in what is virtually a hopeless situation.
All right. They can't score anymore, we don't win. Every time down. And down here, let's get some threats outside. All right. Take the ball to the bucket if we get an easy layup, but if not, it's already told Scotty, be a threat outside. Okay? Set yourself some screens outside. Just don't run around with your head cut off, all right? Let's stop them each time you're playing good defense. TT, out-quick them. Can't get in a muscle match with him, he'll go over you. Front him as best you can.
Still very interesting that when Bruton is on the court, maybe it's because he's just out of breath. Markey is doing all the talking, but they seem to work pretty well together.
No, that's the traditional way that they've worked it. Cal sets the training, sets the game plan, and he relies on Markey to make those game decisions so that he can sit there constantly. Even when he's on the bench, you don't want to lose that concentration. He's got to be prepared to come on the court and play his best. He's worrying about all sorts of other things. He wanders on the court and probably gives sort of a casual effort. And they've worked out their teamwork very well over the last 2 years, and I think Cal trusts Markey implicitly to make the right decisions, because they've all worked them out before. They've been through all the decisions and situations that are probably possible in a basketball game.
Bill, do you think Cal's own game has suffered at all since he took on the added responsibility of being a coach?
Oh, I think it's undoubted that it has. He's not quite the player or as effective as a player as he was, but on the other hand, you got to weigh that up for the inspiration he gives on the court as both a player and a captain, whereas individually he might not be quite as effective. Perhaps his effect on the team is just as good.
And of course, the Black Pearl is getting on a little bit. That's goaltending. That was Wayne McDaniel with the shot. James Crawford got way up over the ring, but the ball was on the way down. It was rejected. It's called goaltending, so the 2 points count. 107 to 90 now. Newcastle Falcons well and truly in control. 2 minutes 43 remaining in the game. Everett brings the ball up the court. He'll drive. No, he passes it out to McDaniels. Wow, wow, surprise, surprise. And McDaniels took a little bit of a shuffle there. He can't believe that it's been called a travel, but it was by Ray Hunt. Ken Cole having a word to the referee as well. I'm not sure that he was right, but anyway, does it really matter at this stage of the match?
Well, now's not the time to make an enemy of a referee. I would think with the season coming up and your team comfortably ahead.
But I don't think Ken Cole can help himself, Bill.
No, he's playing it himself. The coach, I think, like Ken, is a great player himself. He's in there in the middle of it. He feels like he's rebounding every rebound and shooting every shot himself.
Well, Mike Johnson is certainly shooting that shot okay. He has not only been shooting from the outside, he's been getting them inside as well. Some great drives around the back of the court. 27 points for the match. Crawford over the top of McDaniel, off glass, beautiful shot, 109 to 94. James Crawford with 33 points for the game, and he's been an inspirational player for the Wildcats, even though they're going down this afternoon. Everett, Johnson, the pass inside to McDaniel was beautifully timed, took it over the top of the defense, and it was great stuff by the Falcons, 111 to 94. And they're just doing it in style at the moment. Crawford again, a one-man band for the Wildcats. Missed that time. Black inside to Crawford. Overran it. Dennis now. It's the 3-on-1 situation here.
Jerry Everett with the slam that time.
Great slam dunk.
Leave the backboard, Jerry.
Beautiful stuff. Sean Dennis was the man bringing the ball down the court. He had an option there. He decided to go for Everett. It was the right decision.
Well, there's not much
33 points for the game for Everett.
They're just running and stunning and having some fun at the moment.
They want to get out in the shower.
Everett with 54 seconds remaining. We're into the last minute of the game. Wayne McDaniel, and also a great shot from him. 115 to 96, so we're seeing some really entertaining basketball to finish this game off. Certainly not classic defense, but a great shot nevertheless. And we've got fouls, and it looks like we may get some substitutions now as well. There's players standing up on the bench, sitting back down again. Fenton has 5, so he's out. Another man has been fouled out of the game, and number 4, Eric Watterson, returns to the scene. Watto, as it says on the back of his singlet, and I'm sure all his mates call him. Derek Polk now from the free throw line. First one is good.
At this stage of the game, this is the sort of game sometimes you wish you didn't have the names on the back of your singlet. You can really sympathize with Perth. They've had a tremendous weekend, a lot of tough games. They've won them with consummate ease. They've lost their star. Newcastle's giving them a real hiding at the moment. But they've got a lot of pride in their game. Well, it hurts, but it's only temporary.
That's a long flight back home to Perth too. Jerry Everett on the ball now as the Falcons have won this Aussie Videotapes Classic, and they've won it in fine style. And the man on the ball now has to take a lot of credit for the victory, Jerry Everett. He certainly is the star on the side.
Obviously, Jerry Everett is just counting the clock down.
9, 8.
Boy, what a way to do
Go and
it.
steal it off him, Cal. Don't let him do that to
Well,
you.
the Perth Wildcats are just going to
Launch a three-pointer too.
And miss it.
Unsuccessful, but what a magnificent win by the Newcastle Falcons over the Perth Wildcats to take the grand final of the Aussie Videotapes Australian Basketball Classic. Jerry Everett finishing with 33 points for the game, Wayne McDaniel 27, Derek Polk 25, and Michael Johnson 27. So it's been evenly spread. 4 players that really starred for the Newcastle Falcons. For the Perth Wildcats, 33 points to James Crawford, 29 to Paul Kuiper, and the rest of the guys you can forget about. Cal Bruton picked up 13, but he didn't spend a lot of time on the court, and it's certainly a well-deserved victory for the Newcastle Falcons. We'll be back after this break. See you in a moment.
Aren't you hungry?
My kind of people, my kind of taste. Hungry, we just can't wait. Good and ready, wherever you are.
Aren't you hungry?
Come on, jump in your car. This is the Hungry Jack's way. They make it just for me. Make it a Hungry Jack's day. Oh yeah.
There used to be 2 me's. Sweet little normal me and fat tubby me.
Fat me hid inside fat clothes. Then I'd go on a diet and away would go the fat clothes. Then I'd get hungry and out would come the fat clothes. It was like being in a revolving door. Then I discovered Fibrax, the fibre from grain and citrus. Fibrax stops me feeling so hungry. So now I'll never need fat clothes again.
Fibrax. It'll help you throw away your fat clothes forever.
Hey, get this ticket where you see this sign. It's a worthwhile ticket. It'll work just fine. Help the Children's Medical Research Foundation and maybe win a car that's the best in the nation. An all-new Mazda 626. More than 28 grand it's worth. No tricks from Australian Motors, the great guys. Elegant, perfect size. Look at that style. Look at that ride. Can't you just picture yourself inside? Get a ticket at the sign or in the news. It's for the kids. What can you lose? Get a ticket, yeah, maybe win a prize and get thanks from the kids and the great guys.
Great guys.
Back to the State Sports Centre as we see the Newcastle Falcons celebrating a well-earned victory over the Perth Wildcats. Well, one of the most gifted athletes competing in the National Basketball League is American import Steve Carfino. For the last 3 seasons, Carfino has led the Hobart Devils, but this year he was lured north to take up an offer with the newly formed Sydney Kings. But a disagreement over his contract has gone to court, and that has meant that Carfino hasn't been able to take the floor for the Kings. At this stage, his immediate future is still under a cloud.
To be strangers in a new land at a time when that country happens to be celebrating its bicentennial could be uncomfortable, an alien feeling maybe. But for the Sydney Kings Yanks, basketball's globetrotters, it's just another adventure to savour.
It's really nice to be a part of this because I was home for the bicentennial in the States, and that was a really great feeling, and it was exactly like this. It was a great day, and it's just a really nice feeling to be a part of this again in another country.
For Ridlin, it's closer to home, culturally at least, than the country he chose to first play basketball outside college, Argentina.
Especially coming straight out of college, being the first tour of duty, as you say, it was a growing up experience. The lifestyle was like third world lifestyle compared to the lifestyle in America and Australia. It was very interesting. I learned a lot about myself.
Now the pair will learn a lot about each other. They're sharing a flat at the Sydney suburb of Bronte, which they moved into this week.
I remember watching Steve play college basketball on TV back in the States. I was watching, he played for the University of Iowa. And I knew him, I didn't know him there, but I knew of him then. And when he came out to Australia, he came out the same year I was out here. Had a good season, heard about him all the time, and we seemed to have hit it off fine.
The 25-year-old, 206 centimetre or 6'8" power forward and centre from Missouri, an All-American in '83, spent his first season in Australia with Bendigo in the SEBL, then was snapped up by the Sydney Supersonics, where last season he topped the defensive rebounds, finished second overall and was the 4th highest scorer in the league. But most of the time, Ridlin was a loser. He didn't like it and believes the Kings can change his fortune. Although in the absence of fellow big man, Australian representative Brad Dalton, out injured till at least April, the club will depend a lot on Ridlin dominating the boards.
So I can feel the pressure already. There's not a whole lot of rebounding strength inside. Our backup people inside are inexperienced in that. We do have some bangers and a lot of heart, like I said before, in there that'll really help. But there is a lot of pressure to do well, especially coming off a season where the team didn't do as well as people anticipated, and having the season that I had, they expect a little bit more even.
Steve Carfino's stat sheet is even more impressive. The 25-year-old, 190 centimetre or 6'2" point guard from Iowa State was in the USA's all-conference team 2 years running until making his mark in Australia with the Hobart Tassie Devils. A great shooter of the ball, he scored 50 points a game for Hobart more than once. Carfino is also a fine team player. And with the Kings, Carfino can afford to depend more on his teammates. Although, he may have to find a new dimension to his game.
I think we have to pick up some rebounds in the guard position because we're pretty big in the guard position. We've got myself and Damian Keogh and other big guards in our lineup, and most of the guards around the league are fairly small, so we'll have to get 4, 5, 6 rebounds a game ourselves. But as far as our big men are concerned, well, not so big, but everybody's pretty aggressive, and so I think that if we just keep showing that same determination and using good court sense and blocking people out, we should be able to get our fair amount of rebounds.
Well, there he is, Steve Carfino, certainly one of the most dynamic players in the National Basketball League.
Well, you could only call it a fairy tale start to the season for Newcastle Falcons and for Sean Dennis, who picked up the Most Valuable Player of the Match award. And the Falcons, who finished third last season, are certainly going to be no easy beats in 88, and I expect that we'll see them right up there at the top of the table in 1988. Well, Glenn Palmer, I guess if you had to sum it up, you just have to say that Newcastle were too good on the day.
Certainly Newcastle have come down to this tournament and played magnificent basketball for a team that finished third last season. They've certainly improved in the off-season, due mainly probably to the coaching efforts of Ken Cole, but also the acquisition of Derek Polk there has made a difference for the side. But I think, as Bill will testify too, it augurs well for a great NBL season, which starts next week with the teams becoming more even.
That's right, and Perth, I think, just a little flat after a heavy weekend in Melbourne.
Yes, they looked like they were carrying the weather a little bit more from the tournament in Melbourne. Also, again, we can't underestimate the loss of Tiny Pinder to their lineup, because they were able to overpower teams with their big front line, and they simply weren't able to do that against Newcastle. And so that changed the game plan a little bit, and I think they became tentative and lost a bit of confidence. They'll be back.
Okay, the bottom line is we're in for a great season of basketball in 1988, starting next weekend with the beginning of the NBL. Please join us right around the country. We'll see you then.
Stay with us on 7 now for our great matinee movie, Bye Bye Birdie, starring Janet Leigh, Dick Van Dyke, Anne Margaret and Maureen Stapleton.